G'day, hi, and welcome. All right, it's a gloomy day out there, so I thought I'd crank out a few videos. I got my Ibanez AEL10 here. This thing's, I forget how old this thing is. Probably bought it, say, 2005, 2004, 2006. I don't remember when I bought this thing, but when you first buy an acoustic guitar, my mic stand is in the way here, but oh well, we'll have to live with that. When you first buy yourself an acoustic guitar, almost all of them are going to come with the action at a certain height. And it's usually a little higher than what you'd probably want. So, for example, I have no problem really doing that. I'm a bit sloppy, I've got to cut my fingernails, but you get that. So I can play up on that, no problem. Okay, fair enough, right? So it plays well. This guitar plays well. Everybody I've let play this guitar, they're like, "Oh my God, that thing plays well. What's that thing worth? Like $1,000, $2,000?" I'm like, 400. Back in the day. But they're like, "Wow, but how come it plays so well?" I mean, like, barely any pressure. This guitar plays itself. It's because it's set up. Now, if you don't know how to adjust a truss rod, don't touch it. You might have to adjust it. This guitar, I've never had to touch the truss rod. I was lucky. But this guitar came with two bridges. Now, the first bridge is still in there. But it was probably literally about, I don't want to say a quarter-inch higher, because that would be way too high, but it was probably about 3/16 higher than what it is right now. I had to file a lot off that bridge to get it down, but, well, here, I'll show you. No buzzing, right? Okay, same. No buzzing again in this. So every fret is clean, free, and clear of the previous fret, the way it's supposed to be set up. And this neck is absolutely straight. This is a 5-piece neck. Ibanez might use cheap materials, but their engineering is usually really good. And one of the things that they've done is with the 5-piece necks, it almost makes them impossible to warp on you, which is great. And this guitar has seen some, not a lot. I mean, it's paid for itself, just about, in gigs and stuff like that. I didn't do a lot of gigs with it, but, well, fair enough amount of gigs with it. And then a lot of jam nights with it, because I mainly bought this as a jam night guitar. I guess technically jam nights would be gigs as well. So I don't know how many shows I've done with it, 30, 40, whatever it was. But the thing is that this guitar is well set up, so when I'm playing it, if I have to play for 3 hours, okay, especially if you're doing big bar chords like whatever it's going to be, or that stuff, the action isn't really high where it's starting. My hands, they don't burn. Like, my hands are relaxed. Like, let me just show you. Keep my thumb off here. It takes more strain to keep my thumb out of there, but I don't have to, like, death grip the thing to play it. Chord. Might be the F chord. Easy to play. Why? Because the guitar is set up. Now at the nut, there's not much you can do at the nut other than have it filed down or regrooved or whatever. I didn't have to touch the nut on this, thank God. The nut height was perfect. But the bridge, almost, even if you buy a $5,000 acoustic guitar, guaranteed you're going to have that bridge taken down. Because what will happen is the action will be okay down here, but they don't know what strings you're going to play. 10s, 11s, 12s. 13s, whatever. What are you going to be playing for strings? They don't know. So they give you a generalized setup on almost all guitars. Acoustic guitars will have a generalized setup, and almost all the time, the action is always way too high, for my liking. Because I like a guitar where, like, this plays almost as well as an electric guitar. It plays almost as easy as electric guitar. easy to play. Acoustic guitars don't have to be painful to play. They don't have to be hard to play, regardless of gauge of string. If you find that one string is really stiff and the next one's not very stiff and whatever, and your hand is straining, stop playing that guitar, go get it set up, because you're going to give yourself tendonitis. Now, there's always that guy, well, I like high action on my guitar because it builds finger strength. No, you're just going to give yourself tendonitis and you won't be able to play it. I've been playing since I was 5, seriously playing since probably about 10 years old or whatever. And my hands, I don't have, fortunately, I don't have tennis elbow or, well, tennis elbow or archer's elbow. I get that from the actual archery stuff, but my hands, I don't have tendonitis because my hands are nice and loose when they're playing. It's no harder for me to play this guitar really than my electrics. My electrics, they use a lighter gauge of strings. The only thing that's different is string bends on this is a little stiffer. That's it. But the actual chording, pretty much anything I can play on my electrics I can play on this. And it's when I hand this guitar to some players that are, you know, professional. This guy, relative of mine, he's a bit of a distant relative, but he's a relative, and he's probably pushing 70 by now. He's probably over 70, and he basically pretty much been playing every weekend since he was 16. Like that's the guy just loves it. And the guy can play. He's a chicken picker. All he plays is acoustics. And I remember handing him this guitar. He said, "Here, Ronnie, here, try this one." And he played it. He's like, "Whoa, this thing plays pretty good." You know, he has his Martin. I forget what Martin he had there, but and his Martin guitar. I remember I've played it a few times, and it was like, "Wow, that thing is just really nice." But beautifully set up. But they don't come that way most of the time. They come with a generalized setup. So it's very important that you have the guitar set up, because it'll make it easier to play, and if you're learning, that's better. But most importantly, you won't end up with tendonitis. Unless you're doing other things, like if you're shredding on an acoustic, you might end up with tendonitis anyway. But the other thing, too, is when you start playing live, the big one is that when you set up your action, make sure you set it up so that you take that into account, that, you know, the action may go up or down with, depending on the type of guitar. I did the previous video on finishes and stuff like that, where a satin finish guitar might expand or contract. You might get a bit of bowing in the neck and less bowing. Maybe nothing critical, but enough that you might get a buzz. And the problem is when you're setting up the bridge, is that you can take meat away from the bridge, but you can't put it back on. You'd have to stick something in there to adjust it, and you can't adjust these things easily. Meaning, if you're playing halfway through, and your guitar is starting to buzz, you might have to grab another guitar. And if this is the only guitar you got, you want to make sure that you take into account the different times of year. For example, winter versus summer. Yes, you're playing in a bar, but whatever. It's just that the more fluctuation you get with temperatures, the more it might adjust your guitar. And you may have to back off the truss rod a bit. You might have to tighten it up a bit. You might not have to touch it at all if you're lucky like me. You may have to lower the action. You may have to, but the thing is it's not like you can just, you know, we're talking, it's going to take you an hour or two to set this up, to do it right. You know, you're going to take off a little bit if you do it, play it. Okay, that's pretty good. Can I go a little bit lower? Take off a little bit. That's why they give you the second one. So if you overdo it, and all acoustics over time, this one's no exception, will eventually start to move. The neck will eventually start to bow forward. And you'll have to keep taking that down. That's why they have the grooves in some of the guitars like this one. I don't know if you can see it well. But there's grooves on the bridge. You see those little grooves? That's so that you can keep taking down as the neck bows and the truss rod can no longer hold it off. You can keep lowering that action. It gives you adjustment. But you still have to physically shave off the bottom of the bridge to get the adjustment. So if you don't know how to do that stuff yourself, take it to a luthier that knows how to do it. Get them to set it up. Sometimes it takes you can say, well, I want the action this high or whatever, even the whole way kind of thing. It's always going to be a little bit higher down at the heel on all guitars. It's just, kind of has to do that. But at the other end, the idea is so that you can play the guitar all over the neck, not just the first 5 frets and then the rest is too painful to play. All right, so anyway, I'll leave it at that. So have yourselves a great day. Eh?